A year ago today, and a huge moment in history, as the Prime Minister announced we must stay at home in order to save lives.
More than 27 million people in Britain watched that extraordinary speech, never imagining that 1 year on we would still be in lockdown. Well, we're joined now to discuss the last year by Chef Paul Ainsworth, who says this has been the toughest year of his life, alongside Julie Smith, a psychologist who's been trying to help people struggling with their mental health during lockdown. Stephen Kennedy, a former investment banker who's decided to retrain as a teacher after homeschooling his 2 children, and author and palliative care doctor Rachel Clark, who has been on the front line treating patients with COVID-19. Thank you all for joining us this morning. Rachel, if we can start with you, it's an anniversary that none of us wanted to be marking. Certainly none of us thought a year ago we would still be talking about this. I wonder what your reflections on the year on the front line of COVID will be.
Well, it's been absolutely shattering. None of us have ever experienced anything like it in NHS history, the sheer scale of the deaths and dying, and the fact that all the way through this year, we've had to live with the fact that going to work every day risks not only our lives, we've seen our colleagues dying in intensive care, but also the lives of our families, that we might take the virus out and infect the people we love. I think the hardest thing of all, though, has been the barriers that COVID has put up between individuals at the one time when you want people close around your bedside, when you're frightened as a patient. Everybody has been barricaded behind masks and visors. You don't even have the luxury of seeing a human face, perhaps even when you're dying. And I think the enormity of that has hit us all so hard, but we've tried our absolute hardest throughout this year, every single person I know in the NHS, to somehow circumvent the barriers and show our patients that they matter to us, we care for them, and even if they can't see our faces, we can still hold their hands, we can still talk to them, and above all, we can try and make sure that no one is alone, even at the end of their life. We've always tried to make sure that a carer, a doctor, a nurse has been there, come what may, for everybody whose life has been lost to this terrible disease.
You've been working under extraordinary pressure, as we've seen, you and your colleagues having to deal with all sorts of issues surrounding COVID, surrounding the way the government has reacted to the pandemic as well. And I know that a number of people that I know working within the NHS, and I'm sure you have friends and colleagues within the NHS, who've decided that enough's enough and they can't go on and they want to walk away. How have you come close, Rachel, at any point of thinking, I just can't deal with this, it's too much, it's my vocation, it's what I've always dreamt about doing, it's what I want to be, it's where I want to be, but this is just too much?
Yes, there was a time, it was actually in the lead up to Christmas, where we all could see what was happening. The cases were shooting upwards, the hospitals were filling up again. We knew what was coming and we were powerless to stop it. There was still talk of people being allowed to mingle at Christmas. And I found after that, in January, when the deaths and the dying and the sheer numbers of patients were so much worse even than the first wave, that I used to have to stop sometimes, pull over the car at the side of the road and just cry, and even sometimes almost feel as though I was having panic attacks. I felt my heart racing, I couldn't breathe, like I was about to have a heart attack at the prospect of going through it again. And at that point, I felt close to breaking, but somehow I think it's the team that gets you through, knowing that all of your colleagues are in the same boat, and above all, that patients are in the same boat, that you have to do it for patients. That's what's got us through. And I know that coming out of this awful year, what keeps me carrying on is the knowledge that literally every single day at work, in the porters, the carers, the healthcare assistants, absolutely everybody, I'm lucky enough to see at work the absolute best of human nature, people who are scared but courageous, who want to give up but carry on, and they do it for patients. And at the end of the day, I feel like I've seen the best of Britain at work this year, and it's been completely incredible.
And we would like to say thank you to you and all of your colleagues for getting us through this. with the courage and determination that you have. And particularly, I know that anybody who has not been able to be with someone suffering in hospital and knows that you and your colleagues have spent those last moments with them, I cannot imagine how important and precious that is for those people. And Dr. Clark, thank you so much. Dr. Julie Smith, you are a psychologist, and frankly, this year, whether you have lost somebody, whether you've been affected, whether you've suffered, whether your job has been affected, it's going to leave a toll, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the psychological impact of all of this is going to carry on for a lot longer yet. And, you know, when you think about for every death, there are, you know, countless friends and family members who are facing their grief, but have been asked to do that alone because we haven't been able to reach out and connect with each other. And there's small things like having a hug with somebody that can mean so much when you're struggling and you're grieving. We've had to do it without that. And that's where we've been so lucky to have online resources to help us to connect with other people, and video calls and things like that have really helped people.
Let's have a look at how it's affected us at home. Stephen Kennedy, you were an investment banker. You've decided to retrain as a teacher.
Yes.
Because of a newfound sort of valuation of how important teaching is since all our children came home to be homeschooled.
Homeschooling was never something I would have chosen to do, but having suddenly been thrown into this situation, I mean, it's exactly a year ago. I had 2 daughters at home to entertain, and I was really impressed by all the rainbows and the outpouring of artistic creativity. So we decided to make some real rainbows with some sunlight and some water, and we shared a video with the girls' classmates. And I loved the reaction from all the different classmates and the parents, who I think appreciated a bit of distraction. And so the next day we made another video, and then the third day another one, and one kid came back with his own video that he made with his mum, and that was magic. So I thought, maybe I could do this, maybe I should do this, maybe I'll look into what it takes. And I got in touch with Now Teach, a charity that helps people with this career transition, and they gave me lots of tips and some experience from current teachers, and they helped me with the interview process, and now I'm set to do a PGCE in Cambridge next year and hopefully start teaching.
It's an amazing thing to see someone has been able to embrace homeschooling in such an inspiring way, and it's leading to a big career change. Paul, you had an extraordinarily successful business before COVID started. I was able to come to the Mariners, which I think is where you are this morning, where my family are down in Cornwall. After the first lockdown emptied and the pub was busy and things were looking positive and everyone was looking like it's going to be a fantastic end of the summer and autumn into winter, and then all of a sudden everything changed again. I know it's been one of the most brutal years for you from a personal perspective, but mostly because of your business and how you've struggled. How hard has it been for you and your wife and the family?
Yeah, good morning. It's been extremely hard, especially from the first lockdown, where we were in those uncharted waters. You know, what was going to happen to the team. They're always the priority. Right now we have 117 people on furlough. We have people that aren't on furlough that didn't qualify after October the 31st. So the whole process has always been about the team and the people and looking after them and their well-being, and just helping them get through this, as well as my family, as well as myself, and trying to sort of, lead from the top, stay active, and just sort of navigate our way through this. And then, as you say, going into third lockdown, that was pretty abrupt.
Yeah, so how have you stayed positive? Because, of course, you've spent years building a business empire that is hugely successful, well-loved, well-respected, and very, very tangible within the community you work in. You employ all those people. But suddenly, because of the restrictions and because of COVID, and you're down in Cornwall where they've had very little COVID as it is, but because of those restrictions, it's had this huge impact.
Yeah, so we've just stayed active by lots of training, and you look at the positives, always looking at the positives. In hospitality, the biggest gift you could ever be given is time. And we don't get that. We're always 7 days a week, always working towards, whether it's a breakfast shift, a lunch shift, a dinner shift. So to be able to not have that and then focus, refine, hone in on what you're doing, question the things that you don't always quite have the time to do. Then we've involved the team in that process with Teams, Zoom, training sessions. So yeah, that's the positive side of it, of like really having that opportunity to look at what we do and make it the best we can, and include the team on that, which then keeps them focused.
Well, Paul, good luck with trying to rebuild, and also good luck to you, Stephen Kennedy, with the
future. How exciting!
Your new career, which is fantastic. Thank you, Dr. Julie Smith, for the the support and counselling that you're doing online to keep people's spirits up, and Dr. Clark, again, thank you for the incredible work that you and your teams have done and will continue to do, as we heard yesterday, Boris Johnson warning that the third wave will hit our shores in some way. We appreciate everything that you've all done.